A warm welcome to you wherever it is you're joining us from around the world. This is Enterprise Morning on Enterprise TV. I am Henry Igwebike. In a bit, we'll be going to our newspaper headlines to see what we have for you this morning, and right after that will be our main conversation also for today. So while we get everything all wrapped up for you, please do well to visit our website at www.enterprisetvnews.com. Like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. With me today in the studios to do justice to our newspaper reviews this morning is Emeka Madunago. He is a journalist and also public affairs commentator. Good morning to you, Emeka.
Good morning. Yes, good
and welcome to Enterprise Morning.
Thank you very much.
All right,
good morning, viewers.
Good morning. So quickly, let's go on to our newspaper headlines. And we started off with the Punch newspaper, and the banner headline here says, "Soldiers are killing Army Delta community differ over reprisal as troops arrest 20." And we have the rider there says, "Army accuses community of complicity. DHQ releases photos, names of fallen soldiers." And the sub-rider here will say, we have the Delta governor visits Okuama, meets with GTF commander. Rep urges restraint. YC condemns attack. And right below that particular story, we have pictures and images of our fallen heroes. And also we have on the top strip of the same newspaper, dollar supply rises to $11 billion. And Naira closes at 1,572 Naira. And also we have at the bottom strip of the same newspaper, EFCC recovers 324 houses, documents for Kano pensioners. Emeka, let's talk about this issue. Of course, as it concerns one of the most talked about news on our dailies, both traditional and new media, and that's about our fallen heroes. And we have the images of this gallant soldiers. Of course, it still boils down to the issue on unraveling why this happened in the first place. So can you bring us up to speed on that particular story?
Well, quite unfortunate incident, but I don't think the true story has been told. We've had different versions, and I think the military has also acted rashly with the reprisals, the burning of the community, going to a community in Bayelsa State, and just allegedly opening fire on people who were relaxing by a jetty, and killing 11 people, destroying houses. You see, we continue to, maintain this cycle of violence that just touches the symptoms and doesn't deal with the disease.
So what do you think is the disease?
Look, the disease is that insecurity and armed insurgency remain a major problem in our nation.
And what do you think is the cause of that?
Now, that is the problem. It's about, basically, the fact that non-state actors have, one way or the other, got access to huge economic resources with which they've been able to get weapons, deadly weapons, and with these deadly weapons, they consistently take on security agents confidently, and in many cases overrun them, like in this instant case. So I have been shouting, a number of people have been shouting, I've been calling for every measure to be taken to stop oil theft in the Niger Delta. But the authority just, pay lip service to it. Now, look at this. Look at the way these troops were killed. It shows you that it was, those who did the killing were quite determined. And they did it in such a dastardly way that it seemed they wanted to send a message to the military.
But is it fair to say there is a political undertone with that issue? Because the question is, who invited the military in the first place? Could it be coming from any of the political bigwigs in that particular area, just to protect the interest of where it's coming from?
The military have said that the troops were on a peace mission, quote unquote. We don't know how far, what kind of peace mission. There was allegation that two communities were at war. Mm-hmm. But the other side has said there was no war. That there was no, yeah, they've had an age-long feud with the neighboring community, but there was no war or armed skirmish going on at the time of this incident. Some are even claiming that some of their people were killed alongside, just before the soldiers arrived, and by some militants and thrown into the waters. So conflicting accounts. The Major General has come out to give an account, but it was not there. So we cannot take his account as gospel truth. Now, how do we get the real undiluted account? Now, what has happened? In its usual fashion, the military has gone carried out reprisals, even though there were assurances that reprisals will not be carried out. But I don't know. Went out, carried out reprisals, burnt houses in the community, went to a Bayelsa state, burnt houses. Now, how do we now get evidence, useful evidence, that can lead us, that can lead investigators, into unraveling what happened? Why? What was the motivation? Was there any unresolved feud between maybe some armed militants or community members and the military? Was there any issue in between? But a lot of evidence has been destroyed. So what do we have? We can only have maybe accounts from those who are injured, who managed to escape.
Eyewitnesses and all.
But the point is this. The military also issued a statement yesterday accusing the community of carrying out propaganda against the military. Now, I didn't understand the motivation for that. The statement issued by a spokesman for the Nigerian Army, I don't understand. You state your own side of the story, and then you don't want the other side to state their own side. The other side states their own. You say it is a propaganda.
But the question is, is this: with regards to our president, we've often, seen him, give out impulsive decisions and all. Do you think this is one of those impulsive directions that he has? I think President
Tinubu, those around him need to really help him in terms of public communication. There are certain communications from him that should be vetted. It shows glaring incompetence. When you look at, in some of those statements show glaring incompetence. For you to say you have given full unrestrained orders to the Chief of Defense Staff. So, are you telling me that the Chief of Defense Staff has to wait for orders from you to repel an attack on a military column? I don't understand.
Because that can be termed as war. It's a call for war.
Look, let me tell you.
That's against the community.
No. We're stretching it too far. It is not a war. This is armed insurrection. There are levels of conflicts. Before you call something a war, there must be certain features attached to it. Or else, what you see is that the state will just go in and cause mayhem in the name of fighting a war.
Exactly.
That is one. Secondly, you might find out that the location may just have been an accidental one. Maybe armed insurgents or militants from somewhere far away who may have been hired or may have been sent on a criminal mission, maybe were intercepted by security agents and there was a clash there. Maybe they overpowered the security agents. And then, of course, it is the location of the conflict that the security agents will now descend on. And we have seen that time and again. So, and I think also, at the local level, governors, traditional rulers, local government chairmen, should do more in terms of community relations, in terms of in terms of handling smoldering fires. If there are unresolved issues between communities, deal with them. Because usually, when security agents come in, the communities turn on the security agents.
Exactly.
As if to say, no, allow us to finish ourselves. But security agents are there to maintain the peace.
Exactly.
So
True.
that leads to a decimation of our security establishment. And I'm not happy about it.
Exactly. Very
so
true.
I think oil theft needs to be dealt with. Because the military said that it was an armed wing from the community. So an armed wing that could muster such bravado, such firepower to overrun an entire military contingent. Wasn't we didn't do that with sticks.
Very true.
We didn't do that with clubs or cudgels. They did that with definitely with sophisticated weapons.
Very true.
So oil theft has to be dealt with. It has to be dealt with because so much money and arms are just moving about in the hands of non-state actors, and you find the same thing replicated all over the country.
Very true. All right, so quickly let's move on to our NS Daily, and it's coming from the Vanguard newspaper. And we still have it on as the banner headline here: aftermath of soldiers killing, bloodbath in Delta, villagers flee, hide in forest. And on the top strip of the same newspaper, we have Nigeria doomed without new constitution. That's coming from Yaku Adebanjo, Nwachukwu, and Sonwo-Olu. And on the bottom strip of the same newspaper, we have Sanu Nasu ground universities over withheld salaries. Emeka, let's talk about this issue of Sanu and Nasu currently doing what they feel is the best to secure what they feel is best fit for them. And the NLC has come to support them in the course of this. So the question I still ask is, why is it that our government often wants to come late to the party?
That's what I'm talking about. We are not proactive in dealing with issues. A lot of departments, MDAs in the government, lack the technical capacity to deal with issues within their purview. And that is why we keep having these problems. ASUU, SANU, NASU, I've been talking about their withheld salaries. And this problem was under a different administration.
Yeah.
But I don't know why the Tinubu administration gladly inherited that problem and has been pushing on with it. It has been found that strike would have been averted.
Is it that the funds are not available, or is it?
No, you see, some people within the system just want to play God. You know, there's a problem with when you have people who don't understand how much damage they do to the nation with their, when their actions are driven by their ego. They don't put national interest into play, into consideration. Oh, let's withhold their salaries. They can go strike for how many times they like. You forget that there are people's children, there are postgraduate students, there are linkage programs.
Literally,
there are things that
Nigeria is embedded in that.
Yeah, so you're just causing constant disruptions to the educational system.
Very true.
And this can be better. Let those salaries be paid, and let's have harmony in the higher educational system.
Very true. So lastly, let's move on to the Guardian newspaper, and we have the banner headline, something different from what we have seen in all the newspapers: inflation and rising construction costs, low middle class differ, home ownership plans for food. And we have on the bottom strip of the same newspaper, terrorism, Ohaneze caution Tinubu as gunmen abduct dozens in fresh Kaduna attack. And we have it also, Tinubu meets Edo APC chiefs over state crisis, and Sanwo-Olu as governor's orders a call for new constitution. Emeka, let's take a look at two major interesting stories here. But let's start off with the low and middle class Nigerians asking that home ownership is no longer the most important thing as everybody's jostling for food right now. How bad is the situation?
Well, I want to tell you that all these things are just self-inflicted.
By the government, obviously.
By the government and by Nigerians themselves. Self-inflicted by government that it does not have viable policies to boost the agricultural sector and generate employment. For many years, agriculture has been the highest provider to the highest contributor to Nigeria's GDP. For many years. It was only overtaken by services last year. So the fact that we are crying.
When you say agriculture has been the bane, is it
for over 15 years?
Is it locally consumed agricultural produce or
yes,
produce that are exported?
Yes, no, I'm talking about locally produced. I'm talking about locally produced.
And consumed.
But unfortunately, over the years, we took things for granted. So insecurity became a major problem. This issue of header farmers, clashes was politicized by successive governments. They didn't move in to deal with these things decisively. So you allow nomads roam all over the place with their cattle, destroying people's farms, and thereby causing the problems we have today. As at 2 years ago, when these problems were at their head, people were shouting, people were crying that there will be serious food inflation. Today, food inflation is at over 35%. Headline inflation is 31.7%. How can we have that in a nation with such arable land? Millions of square miles of square kilometers of arable land. A nation that has regular weather patterns, predictable weather patterns. Now we're going into the rainy season. What do we have? We're saying we're hungry. These things are avoidable because the world has gone beyond rain-fed agriculture. Today we have aquaponics, where people grow, cultivate crops in pipes, in water. You have aeroponics. There's a Nigerian now who has developed, aeroponics, whereby you cultivate crops in the air. Have you heard that? But the Nigerian is doing it. What's the government doing about that? People are cultivating yam, cultivating different things in bags.
Yeah, exactly.
In used sacks. For many years, people have been talking of, there has been this mantra, go back to the farm. I remember the former, governor of River State, Old River State, Fidelis Oyakilome, Police Commissioner Fidelis Oyakilome, who said at that time, he said everybody must go back to the farm. Everybody must go back to the farm. You cannot depend only on what you buy from the market. Even if it is vegetables, cultivate. I keep pushing this thing on social media.
So that at least that would reduce the stress on what is being brought to the marketplace.
Yes, because we are having issues in Plateau and Benue, which jointly with Taraba form the food basket of the nation. You have Egusi and Obono, mainly from Kogi. But look at the bandits in Kogi. Not to talk of the northeast, where we can get things like watermelon, things like those big fish, mangala, and different areas. Transportation is high, diesel is expensive. So what it means is that transporting food across long distances
it's not viable.
No, not that it's not viable, but it has become very expensive. So what we have to do is this. We must find ways of pushing our agriculture into our homes. Vegetables take between 6 and 9 weeks to be cultivated. Do you know, even inside your living room, you can have a garden? Even inside your living room, yes. It will even improve the air quality, the air quality in your living room. And you have things to feed your family with. Around your home, you can put sacks and plant things. Plant yam, plant different things. Okay, now, Nigerians who used to look at cocoyam as the food of the poor are now turning to it. One governor, governor of Akwa Ibom State, was reported to have said that the poor, shouldn't eat eggs. And then I now wonder, you see, the kind of thought processes our leaders engage in is really unfortunate. Do you know the fact that you have people called the poor is actually an economic incentive? Because what it means is that if the problem is shortage of eggs, then we can produce more. But in this case now, the government has actually condemned a certain class of people as poor, who are not deserving of decent nutrition. And then how do you now develop a society of people who are able to grow the economy? That is the major problem we have. So the point is just, it's only the rich who should have eggs.
Very unfortunate, really.
This is a state, Akwa Ibom State, where state-owned industries have all collapsed. They even set up a syringe manufacturing factory. It collapsed some time back. But this is a state, the same poor, you say should not have eggs, but you now built an economical center, running into billions.
That's 1 billion.
Where you can head the poor to go and pray for the rich. What kind of thing is this? Look, people should get down from their high horses. I will say it again. If you have space around your home, wherever you are, cultivate something.
Very true. And also, we love to say we have a developing story. Okuama villagers lament alleged soldiers have killed 50 persons in the community. Well, we will still be getting more developing stories as time goes on. But for now, this is just about the time we have for our newspaper reviews today. I'd love to say thank you to Emeka Maduna for being part of our show, and also we'd love to oblige you if you may find time to maybe stay with us for the main conversation. All right. So when we return, kidnappers run into a bazaar in Kaduna, abduct yet another set of 87 persons in Kajuru. Stay with us in a bit. We'll be back. Please don't go anywhere.
Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.